You are listening to the all-new Culture Cast. We hope you have a spooktacular time. I'm Nick.
I'm the Gorehound.
And I'm Jenn.
And this is the all-new Culture Cast. Welcome to a brand new episode, everybody. How are you guys all doing today?
Fantastic.
Great.
This is our very special annual Halloween episode, as evidenced by our intro jingle, which I think is going to be put in there.
And fantastic.
And fantastic. So we got a very special episode, but they're all special episodes in our eyes. Today we're talking about the 2001 cult classic Donnie Darko, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Jake Gyllenhaal's sister.
Mm-hmm.
So
amongst many other starring characters.
Nope, just those two people. That's the only people that are in it. I kid, just to get a rise out of the Gorehound there. Before we jump into our Halloween special movie, let's talk about some of our favorite things. People, what have we been watching, if anything?
I will start off. I have been watching, contrary to the season, Jessica Jones and Mr. Robot. It's just those TV series are just getting to me now. So
you like Jessica Jones?
I like it a little bit more than Daredevil, but it's still just kind of another TV series that has a short attention span that kind of irks me, but at the same time I'm like, I don't want to devote an hour and a half while I'm eating dinner, and that suffices. And I'm trying to get back into Mr. Robot because I feel like the content of that is more appealing, but just the story is just really lame at this point. So, and I also watched Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which was, as I expected, pretty lame and boring and quickly forgettable.
I sort of remember when that movie was coming out, but
yeah, it's just another zombie comedy, same as all the others, with nothing really. The main character, Ty Sheridan, was actually pretty good, and I liked him, but everything else kind of was just boring and a rerun. So
nothing that we haven't already seen.
Exactly, and I don't know why I watched it, because I knew it was all about zombies. I knew exactly what I was expecting, but for some reason I love to watch awful movies sometimes against my self-interest.
Alrighty. Jen, what have you been watching?
So I had some time off of work, so I went to the library, borrowed The People versus O.J. Simpson, the AMC series. And then when I got it home, I discovered that the discs were damaged, so I didn't get to watch it. So I guess my week has been, it was going to be full of O.J. Simpson related stories. I did instead pick up Superstore season 1 on DVD. And when I remember seeing the previews for that show and thinking that it looked very stupid, and then, I ended up marathoning it over the summer, and I never marathon anything because I have the attention span of a small child.
There is a actor in there named America Ferrara.
Yeah, she was the star of Ugly Betty.
That is an incredible name.
It is. The best thing I saw all summer was pictures of her and her coworkers wearing shirts that said "Make America Ferrera Again," which was delightful. But yeah, no, she's great. I never watched Ugly Betty. I mean, I saw 40 minutes of it once, but I never watched it regularly. But I've seen her in other stuff, and she's just a delight on the show. And it really was a really it's just a really well put together, and one of those shows where you just kind of want to exist with the characters, they're just all people you feel like you could get to know in real life. So I guess that would be my recommendation, and maybe one day I'll be able to tell you guys I saw The People versus O.J. Simpson. But
Jen,
don't hold your breath.
Jen, I have to say, the movies that you watch are so different than anything that I would just pick up randomly. I don't
because no one dies.
Maybe, or that there's no monsters. Gosh, I don't know. It ceases to amaze me how how other people's interests can be so different. Like the fact that I just like love horror movies and watch them. Sometimes I forget to realize that like other people don't watch as many horror movies or bad movies as I do. And then once that realization hits, I'm like, wait, they don't? But they still like it just as much. Like the Graveyard King loves like.
If you looked at all the things that I watch, like it's people get along. There aren't like a lot of villains. There's a lot of jokes. Like you would hate it.
It's sometimes it just amazes me that people have that big of an interest in something other than something that I enjoy. I don't know. It's more of a I don't know, a way of thinking that just amazes me.
Yes, people like happiness and sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah. But also another side story, because you had mentioned a broken disc.
Yeah.
Nick,
so sad.
Nick, I think I might have mentioned this to you, but when the new Elder Scrolls game came out on the PS4, I was very interested in this, and I went to Redbox to go rent it for like a day or two to see if I liked it or not, because I love Skyrim and any new game I'm going to go into. I went to Redbox about 3 times, and every time I went, some people were doing like a hack on Redbox where I would get the disc and it would be like a paper insert instead of like the actual like CD disc.
Oh my god.
And so because apparently the Redbox only like registers the barcode on the CD. And so people would just like take the disc, put the insert in and return it and be like, I just got a $60 game for free. And every single time I went to redbox.com and they were like, yeah, we know. And so I kept on getting like free rentals time after time. And after the 3rd time, I was like, this is ridiculous. Because I went like 3 times within 2 weeks. And it was just like, I don't know. It was weird. And I kind of just gave up after that. Like, Redbox, you're failing at this aspect.
So life lesson is don't walk away from the Redbox without checking for an actual disc.
Well, no, because I would check after the fact. And I'm like, oh, well, great. What am I supposed to do now? Because I knew Jewel wasn't going to give a shit because it's like independently owned. Nick, what have you been watching?
I have been watching not much this week because I've been why are all the animals next to me here?
Have you been being an adult?
No, I just been busy with stuff, but I have been slowly going through, very slowly. I hope to do a little bit more. My Frankenstein box set, which I got.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I'm been excited about it. I look forward to. I want to finish them all up before Halloween, just because. Don't know if that's going to happen.
How many are there?
So there are 6 or 7 in the set.
Okay, and
so
are they all like an hour and a half?
Thereabouts, yeah. So it's not terribly long, so it's definitely doable. But it's mainly finding the time. So that's been pretty good. So I've been enjoying that tremendously. And I also watch. I don't watch this show, but my wife watches it. The Walking Dead. We watched the new.
Oh yeah, that was in the news quite a bit.
I don't know what happened, but people were very mad.
Yeah. I just wanted to know what the spoilers was. Like, I don't know any. I know who they are. I don't care and I don't watch it. But I was like, oh, I'm glad that I know.
Yeah, they killed off a couple of characters, and one was.
I thought it was just one.
Oh. No.
Oh man! Now I guess I have to watch it. Not.
That was the thing. They killed off one. And the other one was a surprise, but a lot of them.
Isn't all death a surprise?
Well, yeah, true.
I mean, except for like an electric chair where you're like death row.
I suppose so, but in the context of what people were expecting, they were expecting one person to bite it, but in reality, it was 2
Or in
people.
The Ring, where you have like 7 days, and you're like, okay, I'll die then.
I'm sorry. Are you done?
I'm thinking of more times that you know that you're gonna die.
You're putting a lot of thought into this. So that was interesting. I mean, I don't watch the show. I just happened to be there, and it's like, oh, okay.
Does the significant other keep up with the series? Like, does she watch it on a weekly basis?
Yeah, she does.
So what were her feelings?
I mean,
Did
there's
she
been
freak
times
out?
I think One person she knew was going to die. She's like, I'm hedging my bets. It's probably going to be this person. But I think it was the second death that surprised a lot of people because it was very like sudden. Like in context of the show, it's like the bad guy's like, yeah, I'm the bad guy. La 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 la. Ha ha. I killed that one person. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. Boom, other person dead, and everyone's like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" Because it was very like quick and sudden, and there wasn't a build up to it. Like sometimes when someone dies, there's a build up. You know that it's coming. There was no preparation for it. It's just kind of like boom, dead.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people are like, ah. But at the same time, I guess if people had read the comic, it wasn't a surprise because it was similar to what had happened in the story there. But anyway. So that's pretty much what I've been watching.
Cool.
So, Gorehound, do you have a male crush of the week?
Yeah, it's a repeat. The classic Andrew WK. He's had quite the run with the segment. But yeah, I listen to him a lot while I run, and his optimistic message about partying is like a way of life is very I dig it. And I've also been reading his column, and as generic as it is, like talking about like meditation and like not gambling, there's also other stuff like in there. Like there was an entire post about bread, about how awesome bread is, and though I don't share that interest, it's fun to read. So
okay, very cool. So before we jump into our topic, Donnie Darko tonight, there's something else we need to talk about. The other week, the three of us at four, counting Thor, who's not on tonight. He's, I guess, resting his voice. But we all attended Elgin's Nightmare on Chicago Street, which is they closed down downtown Elgin, and it's a giant Halloween party. And they have a lot of food vendors and shows going on, and they have a costume contest that's hosted by... The place was packed. A costume contest hosted by local television personalities, Sanguli. Also a lot of music and bands. So
a lot of dance music and like DJs.
Yeah, I honestly, I have gone to this. This is my third year going to it. I don't remember all the dance music in the past, but then again, we never really paid that close attention to it. So, What did you guys think of the Nightmare on Chicago Street?
I thought it was very well done. It was my first year going, and I'd heard about it from you guys, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely, a party. I thought it was a good number of people, and I think the people there tended to be, it didn't feel like it was overrun with drunks, and it didn't feel like it was, there with people who were just there to party or whatever. It just seemed like a lot of people who were in the mood to wear costumes and have fun, and it just seemed to be a really good crowd.
And I think part of that was that you had to actually pay to get in, so you don't have just like a whole bunch of randos walking around. People are actually like taking the effort to buy a ticket and come in, so it's not like those Streets of Chicago or like the Taste of Chicago where it's just anybody can go.
Right. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, no, it was very well done, and I was shocked at how much they decorated. Like it wasn't just, here's a bunch of, streamers. It was like also we flipped over some cars.
Yeah, those junkyard cars was like an awesome touch because I know that they could be like really cheap, and if you have a budget, you're like, sure, why not? Just flip a few.
No, that was actually downtown Elgin. I've tried to explain this to you. That's those aren't decorations. That's a thing.
But it was really fun. It was also my first time going. And Nick, you've mentioned it quite a few times about how fun it is. And yeah, it lives up to its name. It was packed, but everybody there is there for the same reason. So you're like, awesome. But yeah, I mean, all the restaurants were open, which was great. The music was loud, and some of it was kind of cheesy. But the way all the people that were dressed up was just like always so exciting because you're just like walking for like every 30 seconds you're seeing a costume that's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I think I've said awesome like 10 times now in this podcast already.
You may have, yes.
Yeah,
and I will say, as a Cubs fan, the best moment was when they announced that the Cubs were going to the World Series, and then they played Go Cubs Go, and even Nick's wife danced to it, even though she's Dirty Socks fan.
Yeah. Apparently,
Well,
like
only because the Gorehound was so infectious with his dancing in his skeleton costume.
No. I asked her about it, and she said it's a catchy song. So I'm going to remember that forever.
Did we dance to a Cub song?
Yeah,
it's called Go Cubs Go.
right after costume contest.
Oh yeah, I would have danced to anything at that point.
The only downside I felt with it is that even though the event is like 4-5 hours long, I feel that if you try to go and sit down for dinner, which we did, you do kind of miss out on the festivities that are going on outside. But it's one of those catch-22s that you need to eat, and unless you ate beforehand, it's one of those weird sort of scenarios because we missed a lot of I guess they had a freak show this year.
Oh yeah, in the garage.
Yeah, in the garage there. So it was tough to see everything. But I'm glad, Gorehound, that you wanted to continue walking around because in past years, my wife and I, we haven't really had a chance to do that. Like after the costume contest, we were kind of tired and we're like, all right, let's bail. But it was cool to see the other elements.
Yeah, I tend to do that at these live events where I try to make sure that like I hit each leg of like an event just to check it out and see like what we could check out next year or whatnot. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to next year, and it's actually inspired me to maybe put a little bit more effort into my costume instead of just a jumpsuit and mask. I like that scarecrow that we got the photo with that I might actually use for the cover image. That was so cool. I mean, I know it takes like a lot of work to do these costumes, but they look a lot of fun, and I think I'm gonna try to do something a little bit more involved next year.
So that's something I look forward to. So, and do you want to go on the costume contest?
No, not that involved.
I will say, here's what I will say about the costume contest. The people that won, it was a group costume of the Addams Family, and they were okay, but like there were costumes up there that clearly had put way more effort into making their costume.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of them were just like, oh, here's my striped shirt, and here's my, it was, they were fine. They should have been in the contest, but they shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I was disappointed with the costumes overall this year. Like last year, I felt like there was more.
I mean, I feel like a lot more people that I saw there could have entered. Like this was just like a random picking and choosing of people that they saw there.
Yeah, I don't know if they had restrictions this year that they didn't have last year. Because last year there was a guy who was, I don't know, I think it was like an alien hunter.
Yeah.
And he had like all this like metal on, and he looked cool. And then he's on stage, and he whips out his arm, and on top of his arm is a blowtorch that he just like discharges fire.
Yeah.
And it's like cool, but oh my god, horribly dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I'm glad I was not standing next to that guy.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine trying to get into one of those bars and you're waiting in line and the guy's like, all right, too many people in front of me, and just whips it out and, murders us all.
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility. Yeah. So
the crowd was getting a little rambunctious at the costume contest where I was like starting to get very perturbed because people were just like falling all over the place and it was just uncomfortable.
Well, it didn't help that one of the people who was in the costume contest, who I thought her costume was good but not winning good, were like jumping up and down, and like people were sitting on other people's shoulders going woo. It's
right,
like,
for a packed crowd. I mean, that's really unacceptable.
Yeah, it's like, and the thing is, and I don't want to be judgmental, but if you're like 18 or up into your mid 20s, yeah, you can do that. These people were easily in their 30s or 40s, and it's like, okay, it's time to cut that out.
Yeah.
But that's just me being judgmental, so it is what it is.
Oh, judging
so yeah,
Nick.
Yeah. So for those of you listening, Nightmare on Chicago Street, if you live in the Chicagoland area, especially in the northwest suburbs, highly recommend. I think entrance was only like $12, so it's not too bad. So it's usually the week or two before Halloween. I highly recommend it. It's a nice adult night out, as it were.
Yeah, and it's very well put together.
All right. Well, I think that's enough preamble here. Let's jump into our topic of the day, which is Donnie Darko. We were having a discussion before when we were trying to decide what to do for a Halloween movie, and there was some question whether or not Donnie Darko was a horror film. And Gorehound, you brought up the point that it takes place around Halloween, so that sealed the deal for me.
Right, and I think like when it comes to like Christmas or Halloween movies, I feel like if you have any reference to the holiday, it like bumps you up like quite a few notches. And yeah, because this is it ends like October 30th, right?
The 28th or 30th or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. So it's I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. I would say it's more of a science fiction drama.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because I wanted to pick a like not just like some random movie that none of us have ever seen. This movie is like I don't know. It's one of my favorites, and I was stuck between this one and The Crow, because Crow is like hands down a horror Halloween movie.
I think we should do The Crow in a future episode. Jen, what do you think?
I do not know what The Crow is.
It's the movie that killed Brandon Lee.
Sure.
Well, he was killed in
murder.
He was killed while filming the movie. Like the movie didn't like kill him, like a CD to the head or something like that.
Sure.
Well, that could be a discussion perhaps for another day. But
yeah, definitely.
In any event, we're going to talk about Donnie Darko. Let me give a quick summary of at least premise of what Donnie Darko is.
You can give it a shot, but that's going to be pretty difficult to sum this up.
Well, I'm just going to give just a quick overview. I'm not going to go beat by beat. Yeah. But Donnie Darko centers on the main character, Donnie Darko, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who's kind of a disturbed teen. He has emotional issues. He's seen a therapist. And one day he starts hallucinating, or does he, of a giant rabbit who starts telling him to do things, between flooding his school and burning down a rich guy's house, all of which seems to be moving him in a direction to do something of some kind. And Donnie Darko is trying to figure this out as we do as an audience. So I think that's a quick summary of it. It also involves things like time travel and predestination and a whole bunch of metaphysical issues. Yeah. So is that a fair assessment? The elevator pitch for Donnie Darko?
It was okay.
Okay. Thank you.
What was your initial opinion? Because you have not seen this before.
No, I have not seen. Jen, have you seen this before?
I had not seen this until I watched it for the podcast.
Oh my gosh. I've been watching this since, like, every year since, like, my undergrad. So I've seen it quite a few times.
I could sum up my opinion. Let me back up here, because this might make a difference. Jen, which version of the film did you watch? The theatrical?
I did. Right. So I had borrowed from the library the same day I borrowed that broken DVD. I borrowed the director's cut, and Thor was so upset at the thought that I would watch the director's cut before seeing the regular one that he rented it for me on Amazon. So I did end up seeing the regular version. Okay. And not the director's cut.
Okay. I too watched the theatrical version based on not only Thor's recommendation, but also the general consensus of Donnie Darko fans say that the theatrical cut is the superior cut. I'm sure we can get into that a little bit later on with your opinion, because I'm sure you've seen both of them, Gorehound.
Yeah, and I don't really recall the big difference. I know that the director's cut has more scenes in it, but
well, we'll talk to that, because I did some research after I watched the movie about things. Okay. So here's my initial thoughts on Donnie Darko. It can be summed up in 2 words. Utter shit.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna hang up. I'll finish this podcast by myself, okay?
I'm sorry, I did not like this movie at all.
Even as, like, one of Jake Gyllenhaal's first movies?
Well, here's the thing. There are elements of this movie I liked. I liked the acting. Yeah. I thought the direction was pretty good. I liked the way how it was filmed. The movie takes place in 1989. The way it was shot felt like it was a movie from 1989. I don't know if it was the color filters or what, or the camera style that they use, but if you were to show this movie to someone and say, "Oh, this was made in 1989," I think you could fool someone with that.
Okay.
It's I don't know how to describe. I don't know how to.
It feels like it was shot in 1988.
Yeah, like the way the film stock was. Like I don't know how to better describe it. Like if you watch films from certain eras, you could tell how film has evolved over time. Like cameras getting crisper, colors being different. You could just tell. Like last week we talked Breakfast at Tiffany's. The way that movie was shot, you could styles and clothing and everything aside, you could tell that movie came from a certain era that you wouldn't see it done today unless it was intentionally made that way. And I felt Donnie Darko, the director of it, made it feel like this was a movie that came out like this week we're going to see Dead Poet Society, and this week we're going to see Donnie Darko. Like it came out from that same era of film. Yeah, so I know that's a weird thing, but I appreciate that really tiny attention to detail.
I mean, I think one of the things the movie did very well was create a world. Like, it really did some good world building in terms of, I kind of believed the town. Like, I believed that this was this specific, like, kids who went to a private school in this specific, like, small town America. That all felt I think they did that all very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the life of a teenager, a troubled teenager, who's trying to understand this bigger conspiracy universe that is circling around him. So,
I thought it did that very, very well. Before we get into my major gripes with the film, because I have a feeling that's going to be a long conversation.
You're not going to stop, are you?
No, but I have some very specific arguments. But we'll get to it. Jen, what's your opinion of the movie? What was your initial thoughts?
I mean, I guess I'm somewhere in between you guys. Like, I didn't hate it. Like I said, I thought they did really, really good world building, and I really appreciated that. Like, I kind of wanted to spend more time with the characters who weren't Jake Gyllenhaal, like, or weren't Jake Gyllenhaal when he was having hallucinations. Like, I want to change the ending of the movie. I want it to be like
Makes
a
sense.
teen sex comedy. Well, sure. But like more than that, I thought you could have spun so much of this into like a 80s teen sex comedy, and that's kind of what I wanted to. Like, I don't know that that's what I was in the mood to watch at the time, but like I think they could have done that very well with like this cast and this particular like group. I think they could have
add some more drama, add some more gossip, get rid of the time travel.
Part of the problem I had with the, I guess it's the problem I have with any like time travel movie is that I feel like, this is every movie I've ever seen that deals with it, whether you're talking about like Looper or you're talking about what was that one with Leonardo DiCaprio, but just anytime you have something like that, like there's always going to be these kind of flaws you see in the system because you can't find a logically consistent time traveler movie. But I think also it just came off.
Jen, can you repeat that?
I liked it, but I felt like it was a little melodramatic.
Okay.
Yeah. I think my tolerance for like 16-year-old pain is lesser.
I see what you're saying, Jen, how this cast has the perfect setup for a different type of movie, like more like you said, like a teen sex comedy, or even a film that deals like straight on with emotional difficulties. Like if they took out all the sci-fi elements, I think there's a decent premise there for these characters to work within. I mentioned earlier Dead Poet Society, and there's some strong similarities with Jake Gyllenhaal trying to find his identity the same way those boys were trying to find theirs. Took place in a Catholic school, obviously a different type of Catholic school, but still, they kind of faced like free thinking and liberalism and all of that was poo-pooed and no. So there's a lot of it definitely set itself up with where you could have taken this cast of characters and done a couple of different things. I mean, that's one of the strengths of the movie. It had a nice cast who I thought overall everyone was pretty well cast. Mm-hmm. except maybe as odd as it sounds, Maggie Gyllenhaal, because you kind of forget she's in the movie until she pops up again at the end. But
yeah, she's definitely a supporting character.
Oh yeah, but it's just kind of like she's there at the first scene, and then she like disappears for like an hour, and then she's like, "I got into Harvard. Let's have a party." So, but I mean, that's not. I don't count that as a criticism or anything. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, she's in this movie, isn't she?
No, I thought that played well because it is his actual sister, and so you can see like sibling rivalry and banter.
Oh yeah, when they're sitting around the dinner table, like that felt very real.
Right. I mean, that was one of my favorite parts about this movie is that the dialogue and the script. I mean, the things that he says are just on the spot, and it hits so hard each time I watch it. And yeah, that banter at the kitchen table is I was just about to say awesome. Well written.
In real life, is Maggie Gyllenhaal older than Jake?
I believe so.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Somehow I thought he was older, but
can we take a quick break to mention the sequel to the movie?
S. Darko?
Which we definitely haven't seen.
It couldn't be any worse than this one.
S. Darko was just like an abomination. It tried so hard to be, a sequel, but it just failed on all fronts. But the storyline of that is that Samantha Darko, who we see at the dinner table and not a whole lot elsewhere, but this is her like a few years after the fact, after Donnie dies at the end, and she's trying to like move on, and they're just trying to make it like switch roles. It was awful, and I don't think that anybody should watch it. But the character from that table is what moves on to S. Darko.
She was she was a dancer too, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about why this movie completely failed for me.
Can I give my opinion on it and why I like it?
No.
No, I am very curious.
Yeah.
Are you a 16-year-old boy?
Are you a pretentious college student?
I watched this when I was in my undergrad, and I watched it the same night that I watched Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. And it was that night that I started to question whether time travel was real or not. Because those two movies, for like a lonely college boy, it was like, it made me think. And after that, I've kind of loved the movie ever since. Was that an appearance by a dog?
Yeah, that was my dog shaking off your opinions.
Shaking it off. That was not the dog, was it? That was Thor.
It was Thor.
But no, like I said, I love that the script is so well written. So many times that I go back to this movie and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that rant is incredible. He hits the point so well, and I agree with him so much and so often. But I think Jake Gyllenhaal does his character so well because you actually see him as like a troubled 16-year-old. He is 16 or about that, right? He's a teenager.
Yeah, 35 now. So I looked it up. Maggie Gyllenhaal is 38. You're welcome.
Thank you, Internet and Jen.
Yeah, mostly Jen.
I think.
Okay.
So yeah. So if he's 35 now, this movie came out 15. So he was about 20 or so when this movie was made. So, and I think the character is in high school, 16 or 17.
Okay.
So
yeah. But yeah. Going off of what Jen was saying, yeah. I mean, the relationships in this movie are very high schooly, if that's a proper word.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, the parties that they go to are just like, yeah, I went to those parties, and I can see that it lives up to it. And as a troubled youth, he really doesn't care about it because he is so wrapped up in this ulterior plot that is much deeper than anybody really realizes. But the plot is it's so deep, and that I think that's the primary reason that I like it, is because it allows you to keep on thinking about the connections between, like, why did this happen, and was there a link between this, and it builds such a world that you can question what would have happened if, say, Donnie decided not to go home and succumb to the second engine motor coming down on him and kind of saving the world. What would happen if he didn't do that, or what would happen if Jenn and Malone did survive? How would he have felt, and how would that have changed this universe that was built?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that dovetails exactly into what didn't work for me in this movie.
Let's hear it.
First of all, let me explain. I watched this with my wife, and she fell asleep during it because that's how much she didn't like it as well.
She wasn't enthralled with Jake Gyllenhaal?
No, apparently not.
No?
No.
Oh, man, she needs to watch End of Line.
Well, I don't think it's anything against Jake Gyllenhaal. I just think she was like, this movie's like, this is weird, this is boring, I'm going to sleep. Here's the thing. I looked up this stuff after the movie, and apparently the movie, this is what the movie was about, the plot. In that, in the world of this film, it's about not only time travel, but also deals with, what do you call it? Alternate realities. That every now and again, an alternate reality will open up, it will be around for a couple of days, and then it will collapse in on itself, at which point...
Weeks.
What's it? Oh, a
Weeks.
couple of weeks, sorry. It will collapse in on itself, in which the main reality continues going on unbothered. Now, every now and again, there'll be a glitch when creating this tangent universe, in which an object is duplicated. In case of this movie, it was the jet engine. And then when that happens, because a duplicate object is made, that causes all of reality to be threatened, because now the reality is unstable. So it takes one person who's usually pre-selected by fate, God, whatever you want to call it. It's the kind of one of the questions about the movie. In this case, Donnie Darko, to go about and get rid of one of the duplicate objects. And everything that happens in his life, from all the people he interacts with, is meant to be a chain reaction for him to realize what he needs to do and eventually take care of it. The rabbit, was it Frank? Apparently was the guy who Donnie killed at the end of the movie, but because he's a ghost, the ghost could travel back and forth through time and tell Donnie to do things in order to set his fate in action, which by the end of the movie, I guess somehow Donnie realizes it, takes the jet engine and throws it into the main universe, which lands on his house and kills him. Okay. None of that is explained or even hinted at in the theatrical cut of the movie. None of that.
That's why we watch director's cuts.
Well, yeah, I wish I did watch the director's cut. I'm not saying I would like the movie more, but at least I would understand what the plot is, what's actually going on and why things are happening. Because as it is, apparently he's supposed to have powers, like super strength and telekinesis. Nowhere in the movie does he demonstrate any of that in the theatrical cut. Right. So it's kind of like this movie is just like a collection of weird things that happen.
But after rewatching them, you realize that there's something deeper to this. It's not all that's being presented in my first viewing. So I'm going to watch it a second time and watch these themes reemerge.
I totally get there's more to it, that there's a deeper theme. I totally get that, and that Donnie was being prepped for something. But it's never stated, it's never explained, and I don't mind ambiguity, but you got to give the audience something. Because, Jenn, did you get the impression that there was any parallel, alternate, tangent universes going on when you were watching this movie? Well,
so I watched the movie, and then when it was over, I was kind of like, huh. And so then I went on the internet and I started reading some theories and, different things. And there was one website I found, which was, I don't know, the third hit or whatever when I typed in, like, Donnie Darko meaning. And, this guy had, like, watched the director's cut and had read the website and had read all the, like, supplemental material. And he's like, okay, so here, I figured it all out. Like, this is what happens. And then kind of does, like, a Q&A with himself about, like, what happened. And I was like, a lot of this is very interesting, but I feel like you can't really... So, right? Because this is hard, because I like when movies take a chance like this. I think it's good. But I also feel like if your final product can't stand up as a theatrical cut, if you have to have supplemental materials just to understand what's happening, I mean, it's certainly an interesting project, but I don't know if it works as, like, a piece of art or as, like, a method of storytelling.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of stuff that, like, people have figured out or have put together. By the way, this includes a quote supposedly from Jake Gyllenhaal. I did not verify this, but apparently somebody asked him what Donnie Darko was about, and he said, "Hell if I know."
He got paid. He don't care.
Right. Which, what? Make that dollar, Jake Gyllenhaal. But, like,
yeah.
Right. So I think it's interesting because I think it was, as a concept, it's kind of interesting, but as a piece of art, I don't know that it achieved its goals because, yes, there was a lot of stuff that, as I was reading this, I was like, oh, okay, all right, parallel universes, okay, tangential this, and okay, so Frank is like the boyfriend of Maggie Gyllenhaal who starts it all by honking and then he leaves the bedroom and, okay, well, that's all interesting, but I didn't get any of that from the movie, so, that's...
But it's not targeting, like, an Academy Award. This movie is targeting people like us who are going to watch this, and then we're going to go online and try to figure out what the hell this is meaning, and then we're going to go back and watch it again, try to figure it out.
To be fair, this was released in 2001. We barely had an internet. People still used Ask Jeeves.
And I think it's not necessarily that I was going for an award, but just for average audiences, which this film is marketed towards, even college students, I'm with you, Jen, that if your product can't stand up on its own, then something clearly is wrong. And I was reading about the director's cut where he put in all the scenes that he wanted, talks a little bit more about these things. But I also read, I guess, the book that he has, The Philosophy of Time Travel.
Yeah.
There are sections, and maybe you can confirm this for me, Gorehound. There are like sections of the movie where you read portions of the book, like it comes up and explains like what certain things are.
Yeah, in the director's cut.
Director's cut. Well, apparently that was a new addition way after the fact. Like he didn't film it at the time.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like
it's easily added in.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Like it wasn't like this is my original thing, and then he took it out. Like no, he like added it in after the film was initially done when he was making the director's cut. Which to me says, oh, my film doesn't make any sense. I'll add these extra things in so people can put together what's going on.
But it's not that my film doesn't make any sense. It's that my target audience isn't catching or understanding the universe that I've built. Let me throw in a few more hints without,
which means
explaining it literally.
See, to me, that means that if, my target audience isn't getting it, still means that if your target audience isn't getting it, that means that your film still doesn't make any sense.
Right, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't built this universe that's incredibly intricate.
I'm not saying that. Here's the thing. If someone is a writer, they know all the rules in their head. They know everything that happens. They know how it happens, why it happens. They know the characters. They know everything that needs to happen in that movie. But if you don't look at it from an outsider perspective, then you're going to lose your objectivity about it, and that's where things start to fail. For example, the Star Wars prequels. A lot of stuff happens in those movies. A lot of stuff isn't quite explained that needs to be explained. And a lot of people turned against it, even though Lucas knew all the answers, because like, oh yeah, that happens because of X, Y, and Z. He never delivered on that in his screenplays. There are plenty of other things wrong with those films, but that's just one element. And I feel that the director and writer, they were very ambitious with this movie. And like Jenn, I applaud them. But it just didn't quite come together, I think, the way they were intending.
Yeah. But, I mean, because like with that Star Trek, you said Star Trek, right?
Star Wars.
Oh, same thing. I don't think that you have...
No, it is not the same thing.
In respect to cinematic presentation, I don't think that you need to give all the answers away in a single piece of art.
You don't.
It can be compiled from many different things, such as Star Trek or Star Wars, where they have a very long history and a very rich history, that you can't say everything in the entire, a single piece of film.
See, I think that's a problem. I really do.
Right. So if they had made like a sequel to Donnie Darko, or maybe like a book, an actual book that you can read that was like the sequel or the prequel to this, at that point they explained everything, maybe in like a little montage where they, go over step by step how this alternate reality is being created. Would that change your opinion? If that had been released prior to Donnie Darko, would that have changed your opinion?
No, I never would have picked up the book.
Yeah, the people who check out tie-in materials is about 1% of the actual audience that watches the movie. You shouldn't have to do homework to enjoy a film. If you enjoy a film and you want to learn more about it, and you think a book's going to be cool, great. But you have to bank, as a filmmaker, you have to bank that most people aren't probably going to do that. A film needs to stand on its own. There are, I think, exceptions.
I think that's where I disagree, because I feel like you don't have to include everything in your final piece.
You don't. Here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with some ambiguity. But I think where this movie doesn't work is that they don't give you anything to work with. Like, at the end of the movie, it's Donnie took the other plane jet and threw it into the main universe,
mm-hmm.
and that restarted everything. But in the movie, as presented in the theatrical cut, it just seems like, the plane had turbulence and the jet engine fell off. You never get any of the impression that Donnie is the one who caused it. And that's just one example. You need to give an audience, when you have a world with crazy theories and crazy stuff going on, you need something for the audience to cling on to so they have an idea of what just happened. To compare it to the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, at the end of that film, Gorehound, I think you've seen 2001, right?
It's been a little while, and I'm not that familiar.
Jenn, have you seen 2001?
No.
Okay. Well, to give a quick thing, at the end of that flick, our main character goes into this strange wormhole, has this weird experience that's never quite explained, and eventually he transforms into this star child sort of thing. It's very weird, and it's open up to interpretation about what actually happened, but there are plenty of other things in the movie up until that part that leads us to sort of like, okay, let's get some theories going. This movie, I don't think, does it. Sorry.
I don't think we're going to come to an agreement on this one.
No. And also, why did Donnie kill himself? He didn't need to die at the end of that movie.
Well, he did if he was going to bring back his girlfriend.
Right. So he was saving the people, notably Jenn Malone, who had just died.
I'm going to have one comment on that I'm going to like...
But, I mean, except for the fact that she didn't really die.
Right. My only thing is, I don't think Donnie needed to die. He could have, like, woke up in his bed and, like, well, I'm going to walk down my hallway now and not die. But, I don't know. That just...
No, because he was a duplicate version. If he would have continued living, he would have continued living in the Tangent universe, which is different, and it would have imploded. But, like, what about, like, his mom? What happened to her? in the Tangent universe.
Yeah, but was it? I thought it was. I thought Donnie. So he doesn't remember any of that stuff. That like the whole stuff that he went through.
Well, I think
Well, he
he
wouldn't
makes
remember
the
it 'cause he
choice,
would've been
right?
dead.
He makes the choice to die.
Yes.
So he must remember, or kind of know, because he has that like weird laugh at the end.
Yeah, because he knows that he's going to die to save the universe.
Although I was never clear that the universe was actually going to end. It seemed like the choice was whether Donnie died or whether his girlfriend / also this guy named Frank, who sometimes wears a mask for some reason, dies. But at no point did the universe seem in danger of dying.
He represented the Tangent universe.
See, none of that's explained in the movie. It's not even hinted. There's not even ambiguity.
Okay, let's stop getting angry at each other. Any closing thoughts, Jen?
Thor wanted me to read this to you. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay.
But you have to say it in a Thor type voice.
All right. Ha ha ha! Quick note from Thor. I saw this movie when I was 16. It was my favorite movie for a long time. I never got into the director's cut. I felt it super over-explains all the mysteries. And those title card quotes from the time travel books are way too on the nose. I also want to mention that Jenn is very pretty, and thank you all for letting me join the Blair Witch and the Bridget Jonestown's Massacre episodes. Ha ha ha!
Very good.
Yeah, that was...
And any closing thoughts from Jen?
I am glad I did not watch the director's cut because it would have been 20 minutes longer.
20 minutes better.
Burn!
You know what? Here are my last thoughts that have nothing to do with time travel, which is there were just like hella famous people in this movie. Who were not
Seth Rogen?
Yeah, Seth Rogen's one of the bullies. I was watching the end credits, and I guess Ashley Tisdale was in one of the students there, and she's the one who went on to be in High School Musical. You have Drew Barrymore and the other guy and Patrick Swayze, and I was just like, what are all these people? Jenna Malone. I mean, it was amazing how many people ended up being very successful. I would like to see a movie with all of them, including the ghost of Patrick Swayze, at some point in the future. Like a better movie.
Jen, Patrick Swayze isn't dead. He faked his death, and he's hanging out in gas stations across the country with Elvis. Everyone knows this.
No, and that would that's why he'll be available for the better movie they're going to film next year.
Nick, what are your closing thoughts? Except fuck this movie.
I did not like this movie. I know I've become probably a pariah on the internet. I don't care that I've become a pariah on the internet.
Oh my god, what if you get hate mail?
We'll actually get mail, so really it's a win-win.
Oh my gosh, please. We want our second email.
So there's really nothing to lose by, getting hate mail on that one. So totally down with that. So yeah, that's my final thought on this. Gorehound, what are your final thoughts?
I mean, other than... this movie hits a spot on so many levels for me, and I watch it all the time because I keep on finding new things that are just so good. Seeing a young Jake Gyllenhaal and seeing how far he's come, it's kind of like seeing Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic, where you just see like, wow, this is what he came from. It is fantastic, and I guess in my closing thoughts is one of my favorite lines from the movie is from Kitty Farmer when she goes, "Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion."
Kitty Farmer was a delight, and I would watch an entire movie of just her.
I mean, I hate her so much, but her character is so spot on.
Again, a lot of the performances in this movie were great, and she definitely was a highlight.
Yeah, no question.
Trivia.
I don't have any trivia, but I have a Halloween-related joke for y'all.
Perfect.
Okay. Why can't witches get pregnant?
I don't know, Nick. Why can't witches get pregnant?
Because they date guys with happy Halloweenies.
I don't think that's logically consistent.
It's a joke, Jen. You've just ruined the joke.
Thank you.
with your logic.
Oh, okay.
At least
let me top.
At least Gorehound laughed. So.
Can I top you?
Go for it.
What is Leatherface's favorite math equations? What is he really good at in math class? Like, what is he like really looking forward to?
I don't know. What's he looking forward to?
Division.
Bump. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our Halloween episode, everyone. Gorehound, Jenn, thanks for joining us on tonight's episode. Like you join us every week, so I don't know why I just said that. But
no, we're special guests this week, though.
You're special guests this week, yes. So sorry we had to subject you to the awfulness of Donnie Darko.
Yeah, we gave you 2 chick flicks.
I know, I loved it. We gave you 2
chick flicks, okay?
Yeah, anyway, I'm Nick.
I'm the Gorehound.
And I'm Jenn.
And this has been the all-new Culture Cast. We'll see you next week.
Happy Halloween.
You've been listening to the all-new Culture Cast, where every episode is all new. Check out our blog, Zach and Nick's Culture Cast, at znculturecast.wordpress.com, and find us on social media. Send us an email at nick.culturecast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, comments, and requests. Theme music by bensound.com. The all-new Culture Cast, a Saltwater production, copyright 2016.